Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below, we tried out a very powerful Calyrex Groudon team that finished in the top 4 of the Indianapolis Regional Championships this past weekend. Once again, this team was built by a player called Austin, and he had an amazing run in Indianapolis, so huge thank you to him for sharing the team with me, and congratulations to him on an amazing run once again. Even though the Pokemon on this team are somewhat standard, first of all, Calyrex and Groudon, not exactly a very common restricted duo, and the Charizard and Venusaur are built in very unique ways given their EV spreads and their items as well. And so, yeah, excited to just play a couple more with it today. So, thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoy, please share your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I'm curious, what's one game that you're looking forward to trying out in the near future? I'm honestly just looking for game recommendations here because I haven't played too much outside of Pokemon games recently. So let me know yours in the comment section below, and let's just get started. What? This is such a cool team. Palkia, Solgaleo, Steelix, Indeedee, Arcanine, Zapdos. Huh. Okay. That's awesome. So with Solgaleo, I normally assume weakness policy. So you could bulldoze from Arcanine. That's pretty interesting. I think they don't have a way to stop Reflect or Light Screen on Grimmsnarl though, so I think that's really valuable. I think Charizard as a max option is really weak here into both Steelix and Solgaleo. Venusaur is not terrible, honestly. But, I think Groudon's actually the best max option here, because, Quake and Rockfall just does so much damage across the board. The main thing about Groudon that I have to maybe be careful about is going to be Will-O-Wisp from Arcanine, if they have it. Honestly, Arcanine Solgaleo as a lead is kind of scary, especially if you do actually have Bulldoze. And I can't scary face the Solgaleo either, which is actually a pretty big downside. So maybe I still bring Venu and Charizard, because I don't think Incineroar is that important for me here either. Grim Venu as a lead allows me to play flexible in the early game, where I actually think this game is all about the Groudon, but if they lead in a way that allows me to just max Venusaur, for example, say Indeedee Zapdos, then I can just Light Screen Vine Lash turn 1, and that's not bad. But the main reason I want to max Groudon here is because I think max Groudon is really good into their main max restricteds in Solgaleo and Palkia, but this is just a really cool team. I mean, I have not seen Steelix at all, so I'd love to see that come out. It's just gonna be Indeedee Solgaleo though. Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, this is just a Reflect turn 1. I guess I could max Venusaur, right? But what if they have max Psychic on the Solgaleo? That's not great then. Use Psychic Seed, yeah. Because the thing is, Swords Dance Groudon just kind of demolishes this right now if I get a Swords Dance up, so oh, you know what? There's a good chance there's Psychic Fangs here. Wait, that would actually be really cool. Follow me into Psychic Fangs right now. So maybe I do want to max Venu here. Okay. I'm still gonna go for Reflect here, but we are gonna max Venusaur. I am just gonna Vine Lash into Indeedee. Because the problem is if I go for, I don't know, Sleep Powder plus Reflect turn 1, and they go for Follow Me, I miss Sleep Powder, and they have Psychic Fangs. That's actually brutal for me, in my opinion. But they just max. Okay. I guess now the scary thing is Helping Hand max Psychic onto Venusaur. But this is what I mean, right? I came in with the game plan, but it's okay to be a little bit flexible. Because the worst case on turn 1 was actually pretty bad. And I wouldn't say Psychic Fangs is very common on Solgaleo. You see Max Lightning a lot more, because the Max Lightning just allows you to deal with Yveltal and Kyogre a lot more effectively. But since screens are so common, I was actually going to run Psychic Fangs when I used Solgaleo at Salt Lake City Regionals over Wild Charge, and it was kind of a last second change that I made. We're going to max Venu here. And I just go for Follow Me. That's fine then. Now I want them to have max Psyche because it would activate weakness policy, and that would be really good for us. But we'll see. Either way, though, they don't everything on their team takes good residual from Vine Lash, so I don't mind that. And they just Steel Spike. Okay. On to Grim, which is enough for a KO. This allows me to get the free switch into Groudon. To which then I can just Swords Dance plus go for another Vine Lash, honestly. Jeez, we do so little to Indeedee though. Unfortunately, the Venusaur without weakness policy is just very underwhelming. And without like a Life Orb, for example. Or actually, I mean, Life Orb's not, I guess, that common on VNU these days, but... I mean, the alternative is to just go out into Calyrex, right? They're going to have Palkia plus a 4th in the back. I think I'd rather just go out into Groudon right now, because we have Reflect Up, so Swords Dance is actually not terrible. The other interesting consideration is, like, Solgaleo here is a lot weaker outside of Dynamax, so I could actually protect Max Guard this turn. Because I'm not going to click Precipice Blades next turn anyway, to be honest. So... okay, I'm actually down to protect Max Guard here into Swords Dance Vine Lash the next turn. They probably Steel Spike into the Groudon slot, but then it's not that meaningful damage. And like, I'm just, like, Solgaleo is just a lot weaker outside of Dynamax, right? So, especially without a weakness policy activated on it, I'm down to play this way. They do have Mindstorm, though. Okay. With Reflect Up, I would expect to survive. We should expect Policy, once again, on the Solgaleo's end. So, let us go for Swords Dance here, and then just go for Vine Lash, again, onto the Indeedee. Now, normally it doesn't feel great to trade like this, but at the end of the day, Groudon was always, like, one of the, if not the primary win condition in this game. And so if we get a late game +2 Groudon against my opponent's team comp, that's honestly really solid. The main thing is I wanted a Dynamax Groudon in this game, but given the lead, and given that they actually did indeed have Psychic Fangs, I did not want to risk turn 1 like that. But they actually just or Steel Spike this time around. Okay. So this is the problem with Solgaleo, right? Like, it is just not very strong without a policy, unfortunately. But now it's a little frustrating because it's like, if my opponent actually, if I didn't protect Venu last turn, it would have activated policy, but that's fine. I still think we're in a pretty good position. The only scary thing now, though, is that they've gotten decent damage on a Groudon, so now you can bring out something like your Palkia and, like, double up onto the Groudon slot. I think if we hit Sleep Powder next turn with Venusaur, it's like a 75% chance to basically immediately win the game because they're very Precipice Blades weak. I guess I could still miss Precipice Blades as well. Okay, it's actually Zapdos coming out. I mean, Zapdos should not really have that much offensive pressure here into Groudon. I guess my question is whether or not you have Wide Guard on Solgaleo, because I'm angling for, like, Astral Barrage to just pick up a double knockout next turn. Like, here I'm actually down to just click Rock Slide, because then Calyrex comes out and just wins the game with Astral Barrage. I don't want to activate Policy on Solgaleo. That's the one thing we want to be careful about, so... yeah, I'm down to click Sleep Powder onto Zapdos and Rock Slide. I don't even care if I miss Sleep Powder here. I just don't want to switch into Calyrex. Solgaleo even protects. Cool. Given that you're running Protect, I feel like Wide Guard is very low chance then. They are Goggles, but that's fine. And they just Heat Wave. Like, I'm looking for the free switch in is all right now. I'm not going to actually get it because they're actually going to... like, Venusaur here's bulky actually activates my policy. Okay, I'll take that, sure. So the last Groudon to heal back up. I could have just switched out into Calyrex here, but then, like, there's a chance that they just attack with both Pokemon, right? And I don't want to risk that. Like, they could just Earthquake and Heat Wave. Rock Slide connects on Zapdos, so it's a +2 Rock Slide. That's actually a... is that a crit? No, that's actually just a KO. So they probably don't have any bulk on the Zapdos then. Okay. You've activated my Weakness Policy now, and I have Weather Ball, so I can probably just Weather Ball Solgaleo this next turn. I guess the main hesitance in clicking it is, once again, activating the policy on it. I'm actually a little bit more inclined to click Leaf Storm onto Palkia here. I mean, it's a +2 Max Flare. Not Max Flare, but +2. Because the main thing is that, like, an Astral Barrage will just finish off Solgaleo anyway. And you can't knock out both of my Pokemon right now. So, yeah, I'm down to press... ooh, actually, do I need to attack with Groudon here? Like, why not just Protect here? No, I actually think the best play is just Protect Groudon and Weather Ball. Because Solgaleo just committed to Protect. So, I think +2 Weather Ball might just get the knockout, honestly. They don't have any special defense boosts. And it's like, what can they do here, right? If you knock out Venusaur, you give me the switch into Calyrex, which is what I was looking for this entire time. That does just KO, so like, okay, cool. It's so funny, though, because, like, even though my opponent didn't go for Psychic Fangs or Max Psychic in the times I expected them to, that's why I really wanted to cover for it, right? Because, like, I just didn't think it was worth... Like, turn 1 could have been a disaster. And I get their decision to just try to eliminate Grimmsnarl from the field immediately, because Grimmsnarl is just that annoying to deal with. Curious if +2 Leaf Storm kills Palkia now. It might. Okay, Palkia protects, that's fine. The thing with this team is that, like, if you get Calyrex to a position where, you know, you have more Pokemon or resources than your opponent and the Sash is still conserved, Calyrex, like, I wouldn't say almost always wins, but it just puts yourself in, like, such a good spot, right? So, they do stall out the Sun, but at this point it doesn't really matter because I've got Calyrex in the back. I guess I could have played that turn a little bit better because I knew the Sun was expiring. So actually, that turn, switching out into Calyrex to conserve Groudon was a little bit better. But I think 2 Astral Barrages KOs Palkia anyway, so I don't need to play this, like, safely, honestly. It just means I won't get to figure out whether or not Leaf Storm gets the one-shot, which I'm sad about. Spatial Rend crits there, that's fine. Even if we miss Precipice Blades here, like I mentioned, it's 2 single Astral Barrages, single target Astral Barrages in a Palkia. So, yeah. Really cool restricted duel here, but honestly, that duel is just very weak into Palkia plus Calyrex. Like, this is one of the worst matchups for them, in my opinion. And I'm curious what Steelix was going to do here. I think their team in general is also just pretty Groudon weak, and so, you know, one of the things if you're playing against Solgaleo is just try to not activate a policy on it, install it at Dynamax, so I would love to see the Steelix set here, yes. Lustrous Orb, Max Speed, Palkia, no Trick Room. Leftover Steelix, Iron Defense, Body Press, Wide Guard Protect. That I actually think Steelix could have been really good against us, because then it would have deterred Groudon from getting any damage off. Was just max speed, so yep, they did indeed have Psychic Fangs. And part of why I wanted to be a little bit more careful of Psychic Fangs was because my opponent led Indeedee plus Solgaleo, and so it's like, okay, well, you might have Psychic Fangs and max Psychic here. Citrus, Arcanine, Flamethrower, Snarl, Scorching Sands Protect, so no Will-O-Wisp, and it's Modest instead of Timid, that's interesting. And then Goggles on the Zapdos here. But, like, the turn we went for Sleep Powder, I just, like, really wanted to sacrifice the Venusaur, because, like, if you look at my opponent's team, their only immunity to Expanding Force, or sorry, Astral Barrage is the Indeedee. So by KOing Indeedee early, like late game, Calyrex Shadow Rider is just amazing into my opponent's team because like they're all just like base 100 or slower, and they don't have great speed control either. Their only means the speed control really is like Dynamax, Zapdos, and Max Airstream. So there's a lot of scary offense here from my opponent's end, but it's going to be difficult for them to consistently outpace their opponents because there's not that much speed control, and that ended up working in our favor. But yeah, I actually think Steelix would have been a big problem for me here because it would have completely invalidated both late game Groudon and Calyrex, and so this actually could have really messed me up, especially with wide guard support. So yeah. Third game here, and it's Dragapult with, oh my gosh, Dialga Mewtwo. These restricted duels are so cool, honestly. Like, I'm rooting for my opponent here. This is so interesting. Like, I would expect to see this with, like, if you had Yveltal and Zacian, that's like a very standard Coalossal core. Coalossal's not that common in this format either, but it actually has a decent matchup into us. So I think, like, Groudon should be the main max option because they're primarily special attackers. I guess it could be physical Cole, but that's fine. Mewtwo having Unnerve is not really relevant here. There can only be one Focus Sash, so either on Mewtwo or Dragapult. I mean, I could just go Groudon Venu, no? What's the problem with this? Coalossal surviving a Max Quake? I don't honestly know the damage calc for that off the top of my head. That's a little bit scary. Grimmsnarl cannot Scary Face, by the way, into Dragapult. If I had Thunder Wave, like, we could go Grim Calyrex and just T-Wave into Astral Barrage. But I can't do that here. Okay. I think I'm going to go with Grim Groudon here. Calyrex in the back. And I think Venusaur is the fourth here, because even regular Venusaur with Earth Power and Weather Ball is pretty valuable. This is an awesome team. I mean, just Dialga Mewtwo as a restricted core is wild. So I'm honestly cheering for my opponent here. Like, honestly, what this does, it's always so exciting to see, like, restricted cores that aren't... I mean, the last team was also really wild, right? Between Solgaleo and Palkia. Okay, they're going to go Instant Mewtwo here. Instant Mewtwo. I mean, you could fake out. You do get an Intimidate off and a Groudon. It's not really that bad. It's like, my main question here, I guess, is can they actually one-shot Grimmsnarl on turn 1? Because if not, then it's honestly not that bad in my opinion. I honestly think just protect Light Screen turn 1 is appropriate here. They're probably going to fake out and then go for a Psychic-type attack into Groudon. It could even be Dynamax on the Mewtwo, but that would be fine. If it's Instant Mewtwo, what, we expect Dialga, and then... Would you really bring Dragapult in the back? Like, Rillaboom as the 4th would make the most sense to me. That'd actually give Groudon a fair amount of trouble. The upside is that Instant, Mewtwo, and Dialga are all relatively weak to Groudon and Precipice Blades right now. The other consideration was to actually just Dynamax Groudon, but it never feels good to Dynamax a -1 Groudon to start the game, right? They are going to max Mewtwo. Okay. That's awesome. Well, I guess it could be max Instant. I shouldn't discount that possibility. Wait, what if it's like weakness policy on the... Okay, it's not happening, but I was like, you could do a crazy best of 1 strat here. It's like, instead of policy on the Cole, it's actually on Instant. It's like max speed Instant, and then Mewtwo activates the policy. That would be so wild. But, I don't know, anytime you go up against anything like Mewtwo, everything is possible. Yep, so they do just fake out here, that's fine. Mindstorm. Okay, that's like the expected play this turn, right? 206 down to 163. Like, I honestly think we just stall out Mewtwo's Dynamax right now. Set up Light Screen this turn. Yeah, you're Life Orbed. I can't Scary Face now, so I'm gonna be careful about that. I could just sack Venu here, honestly. Because it's like, is Venusaur really that important in this game? I don't think so. I think it's actually worth just giving up Venusaur here. So let's bring it out. Let's go for a Light Screen here. And then we can bring out Groudon, then Dynamax it, Max Quake Instant, Reflect next turn. Mewtwo is pretty scary, though. This thing's damage output is absolutely incredible, so... But I think this is a decent trade. I guess I could also just bring out Calyrex and Astral Barrage it, to be honest. The downside for Mewtwo in this format is that it's just relatively frail, but it is honestly a pretty cool Dynamax option here. And Unnerve is obviously a decently valuable ability in this game as well. Especially given the amount of Shuka and Chardy Berries running around at the moment. So then the interesting thing is, like, instead of bringing Venusaur, I actually could have brought Instant, and... Ooh, nice play. Okay, they go for Hailstorm here, so yeah, would cover for an Instant switch. And that's super effective, obviously, in a Groudon, but Venu actually survives. That actually activates Policy as well, so if they end up not targeting the Venu slot, I can, interestingly enough, switch out Grim into Groudon and then just get, like, a +2 Leaf Storm off next turn. I wonder if that would KO Mewtwo, honestly. Okay, it is just Flare Blitz here. Into Grim. So yeah, I can switch out into Groudon right now. They get a burn, that's fine. The thing is, do I really need to switch into Groudon? Like, the better... Or, I mean, I should switch into Groudon to, like, get a attack off, but... You know, would I rather Leaf Storm or Earth Power here? Because if I Earth Power KO Incineroar, late game Calyrex is just looking phenomenal here for us. I'm just curious how much a +2 Leaf Storm does against Mewtwo, but I think the best play here is just Earth Power Instant and then switch out into Groudon. I think the downside for Mewtwo here is it's the inability to pick up one-hit knockouts. That's also why I like prioritize protecting on turn 1. Like, there wasn't too much Mewtwo could do there to gain a major advantage because it doesn't have that much good coverage in a Grimmsnarl, right? I think part of the problem for Mewtwo is that both Incineroar and Grimmsnarl are 2 of the most common support-oriented Pokemon in the format, so, like, what do you really do against either of those? So we're going to switch here. If Earth Power KOs Incineroar, then, like, you know, we change the weather. We have Focus Sash intact. Late game Astral Barrage just looks excellent. And even if they Hailstorm here, it's fine. Although, actually, Hailstorming into Grim would be a very good play for them right now, because you would do a lot of damage into Groudon. Nice instant switch out. Okay, I really like that play. Into Dialga. So I'll get a +2 Earth Power here into Dialga, but it's more important for them to conserve instant because that's a, you know, has a better matchup into my Calyrex in the late game. Earth Power almost gets the KO there. Let's see if they went for Hailstorm. Okay, it's Airstream. That's fine. Onto Venu. Like, I haven't Dynamax yet, right? So we have a pretty major advantage from that alone. Does max speed Dialga outspeed, or max speed +1 Dialga outspeed Calyrex Shadow Rider? I actually don't remember that off the top of my head. Okay, let's just go out into Grim now. Go out into Grim, set up a Reflect, Dynamax Groudon, Max Quake. Feels decent to me. I mean, Mewtwo is actually going to do a ton of damage to Groudon here, right? But it's fine. Reflect, Max, Quake. The speed boost is very nice, actually, because it means that Calyrex doesn't outspeed my opponent easily here. I'll Quake into Mewtwo here. Reflect is to cover for Rillaboom and the instant damage later on in this game. That was a great switch, though, honestly. And now I'm left wondering if Leaf Storm could have KO'd Mewtwo. I really don't think so, though. Like, I think it had enough HP to survive. And if it has enough HP, like, I don't mind targeting instant there, because if my opponent doesn't make that exact play, they get punished pretty heavily. But honestly, like, with that speed boost, I think they definitely have the ability to win this game. And, like, you know, they're up in Pokemon right now as well. And, like, setting up the Psychic Terrain actually makes it a lot tougher for Grimmsnarl, right? Yep, it is Side Strike. Okay, that didn't really do that much, though. That's good. And they unfortunately missed Draco. I mean, RNG's definitely been on my side today. I don't think that connecting really makes that much of a difference, because, like, I had Light Screen up anyway, and then you're suddenly at -2, so then Dialga's really completely useless. But I think what my opponent may have been trying to set up for is, okay, you get a lot of damage out, and then you bring out Rillaboom. And then, you know, click Grassy Glider, Wood Hammer onto me. So we definitely would have survived, but then, yeah, like, the question is, like, the setup for the subsequent turn. I do think, though, if they didn't bring Rillaboom, this game was already over, even if Draco had hit there. But I guess, like, they could crit, right? Instant just comes back out, okay? So Instant can't click Fake Out right now, notably, because Psychic Terrain is still up. They could pivot out into Rillaboom to change the terrain. Spirit Break into Dialga. I'm just Quake and Instant, right? Because it's like, I actually don't have a great Instant matchup with Calyrex in the back. Oh, they actually forgot about Psychic Terrain, unfortunately. Okay. Draco disconnect this time around, but yeah, you can see with Light Screen up and just me conserving late game Dynamax, it's tough for them to do very much. My big question was always going to be what their final Pokemon was. So I think Mewtwo, unfortunately, is just like kind of similar to Giratina. You know, it has like a niche in the format being this kind of offensive Pokemon that can do a lot of damage, but like if you don't Dynamax it, it just faints so easily, and with Dynamax, you're not really guaranteed one-hit knockouts either. I guess Policy Mewtwo would be really interesting to explore, because with the Policy here, my opponent would have had enough damage to actually get the KO onto Venu, right? Spirit Break here, onto the Dialga. It actually does not faint, but that's fine. You're at -3 special attack with that at this point, so that doesn't really matter. The big question I always had was, what was the final Pokemon, right? Was it Rillaboom? Because if it wasn't Rillaboom, then I really think they never really had too much of a good shot at this end game. But I feel like Rillaboom should be it. Actually looks like Dragapult, okay. Yeah, given the fact it was Dragapult then, I don't think they really could have done too much, honestly. I'm just going to Spirit Break into Dialga here, and then there's no reason to change the weather here. Quake into Dragapult. Because, like, late game, non-Dynamax Dragapult is just so incredibly weak. I think the problem that my opponent may run into in games, including this one, is that, like, Dialga is a really good max option. It feels considerably weaker outside of Dynamax. Same thing with Mewtwo. Same thing with Coalossal. Dragapult on this team is probably more support-oriented. But then, like, support Dragapult doesn't do very much other than Will-O-Wisp, set up screens, ally switch. I guess I just said doesn't do very much, but that's actually a decent amount of things that it does. Here it's Breaking Swipe, right? So, like, you expect Breaking Swipe, Surf, Will-O-Wisp, and then a fourth. And it's like, okay, you know, those options just aren't really that good, right? Okay, they get the KO onto Grim. Now we knock out Dialga. Oh, actually, I Quaked into the Dragapult slot, didn't I? Yeah. It's smarter to target the Dialga slot there, in my opinion. Because if I target the Dialga slot, then it's a 2v1 with Sash Calyrex, but I don't think it makes too much of a difference here, honestly. Like, Dialga's just at -3 and does no damage, and Dragapult's Breaking Swipe Surf, presumably, with 2 other attacks, neither of which should really threaten us here. Even if you're, like, Shadow Ball, like, you're not beating both Pokemon right now. Because they still have screens up as well. I guess there's, like, the crit win con here for them. I'm at +3 special defense, and they're at -3, so, like, they do no damage to Groudon here. I'm down to just Astral Barrage and Precipice Blades. I guess the only greedy thing here is if they actually had Shadow Ball, but they're not even faster anyway with either Pokemon. Okay. Yeah, actually, because, like, even if you had Shadow Ball there, unless you were Scarf, right, Calyrex would just outspeed. This is why, once again, why Lake and Calyrex is just, like, an absolute beast. So, that was a really cool team, though. Kudos to them, and, like, it's interesting, like, I have to play in a way to lead for and cover for Coalossal, but in the end, like, I think Groudon is just really solid into my opponent's entire composition, so their way to get around it is, I don't know, if they have Will-O-Wisp, like, leading Fake Out Instant with Dragapult as a lead, and then, like, maybe you, like, I wouldn't know, like, I don't know the Dragapult set, so that would actually be a little bit careful about, like, a Dynamax in turn 1, or you could, like, switch Instant out into Coalossal and just surf immediately. But first time running into Mewtwo in quite a while, and so that was really, really cool. Third game of the day, and the restricted pairs just continue to really shine here. Like, all 3 today were so unconventional. Eternatus Calyrex here with Araquanid. My opponent was pretty high rank, by the way, rank 320, so this is really cool. I love seeing just, like, yeah, you know, innovative restricted cores. And there's Araquanid. Araquanid does get wide guards, so I have to be very careful about that. Tim, this is actually interesting, because, like, I was going to say Charizard's pretty good, but it's actually, you know, obviously terrible until Lecky and Landorus. Eternatus is kind of terrifying here, honestly. These cores are so cool. Like, when you go up against things like this on ladder, like, I don't know, I'm always just so curious about how they even work in the first place, and it's just fun, win or lose. Okay, who's my max option in this game? Venu? Venu, it's under screens, feels like it's it. And just Groudon Calyrex in the back. Is it crazy to me that I almost don't want to bring out Groudon? Because, like, if they have Wide Guard on Araquanid, it's completely walled. I mean, it's still so solid, though. My problem here is not bringing Incineroar. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I honestly do not know what to fully expect, but I think Eternatus is actually really good into us, and it's going to be Eternatus Aleki. Okay. The fear now is physical Aleki on turn 1. Dynamax Cannon onto Venu. I think here I don't mind switching out into Groudon and then just setting up Light Screen turn 1 and then Reflect turn 2. They can't deny my screens easily, so why not just get it up right now, especially when on turn 1 I don't know the Aleki set. I don't know if you're physical, I don't know if you're special, I don't know if you want to Dynamax here. I guess they could just Sludge Bomb me, though. And they are going to max Aleki. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to cover for. But, like, if you're physical and you just one-shot Grim with Life Orb Max Lightning, that's no bueno. So Aleki is going to max. I mean, I don't think they're ever clicking Lightning onto the Venu slots. I don't think switching... Like, the idea of switching Groudon here was just to, like, see if they max Aleki on turn 1, right? There's Airstream. Yep. Cool. That works out pretty well then, honestly. They're probably doubling up onto the Venu slot. That's exactly why I wanted to switch. Cool, 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 cool. That works out. So now we get Reflect up this next turn. Life Orb Eternatus, okay. I could Scary Face here, but then the thing is Airstream just invalidates it. Actually, with Groudon out, I think we can just protect it. The thing is, my opponent might honestly already feel really behind in this game. But like a double up will KO Groudon here, right? I think it's my best interest to protect here. Maybe they read into the protect, but even if they do, it's fine because we stalled another turn of Dynamax here, and Aleki is just a lot weaker. Although I suppose they could just max a Lightning here, set up Electric Terrain. Scary Face Precipice Blades is tempting, but if they Airstream again, then they just outpace me with Eternatus anyway. Darkness for the special defense drop. I like that a lot. That's cool. On these Aleki sets, by the way, it's very often Assault Vest. So Balance, Assurance, 2 Electric type attacks. Yeah, they went all in on Groudon. Perfect. Okay. I'm down to... Who do we max in this game? Max Venu seems okay, honestly. Okay, Precipice Blades and Scary Face into Aleki. The first 2 turns of this game have actually gone as well as they can, right? So we have a very early lead right now off Dynamax advantage. Okay, now this also means Dynamax Cannon goes first, meaning you don't get that special defense drop immediately onto the Groudon, but maybe you still KO here. Wow, that's actually pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. And another Airstream, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is still very scary, honestly. Because I stalled out the early game, but the thing is, like, Groudon was my best answer into these 2. In fact, Dynamax Groudon would have been incredible in this game, but I wanted to be a little bit careful about Eternatus, right? I think it's fine, though, because, like, now we go into Venusaur, and I just Scary Face Max Quake Eternatus. And at this point, Aleki is very bad for my opponent. Because you're running Bounce Assurance, presumably, and then 2 Electric type attacks. Your best bet is to lower my speed with Electro Web. Actually, Electro Web here is pretty strong. But I outpace you with Venu right now, right? So we Dynamax, Quake into Eternatus, and Scary Face. Part of the problem for me here, though, is that I'm running out of Sun turns with Venusaur. So even though the early game went so well, oddly enough, I still don't feel very good about my position, which is really interesting. This Aleki Eternatus, like, offensive duo was really cool. Because, like, Aleki can Airstream to further boost Eternatus speed, allowing it to essentially outspeed everything in the format. Dynamax Cannon just does so much across the board. And then with Life Orb, and then as well as Aleki having Max Darkness, you can... It's like a very hyper-offensive lead, right? But on turn 1, I wouldn't know that immediately without having prior knowledge. Okay, so they don't go for a Protect on Eternatus. That's good. Now we get Scary Face off, so we'll outspeed. Perfect. I guess the question is, does Max Quick actually get the 1-hit KO here? I'm not sure. Oh my gosh. The answer is no. Still fine. I mean, Dynamax Cannon will hurt, but I have a special defense boost and Light Screen up. Yep, there is Electro Web, though. Okay. This is scary because I feel like I'm losing resources just too quickly, honestly. Like, these trades aren't going super well for me. Yeah, it's not too bad onto Venu. Okay. I don't think I can actually get... it's the last turn of Sun, though. I'm at -1 speed. You are at neutral. You are at neutral. I could Scary Face again onto Eternatus, Quake. Like, I need a Vine Lash at some point. I just don't think Vine Lash KOs Eternatus here, which is the problem. And then what would they have in the back? That's a problem. Calyrex, but special defense boost is valuable here, so okay. I'll Quake and Scary Face again. Okay, they don't protect. That's good. Oh, I gotta think about this a little bit more because I felt like the beginning game went so well. I wonder... Oh, man, wait, actually, because I get another speed drop here... Okay, we're still faster, that's good. Because, well, we're at -2, but they're at -2 and I have the Sun up, so yeah. So now I get a very late game Vine Lash, but the thing is, now you can bring out Calyrex. I do have special defense boost, though, which is valuable. Okay. Sunlight fades. And I'm at -2 speed, so I'm really not outspeeding here, but that's okay, because I have Light Screen as well as Reflect. Grim. If Grim's coming out here, I'm really nervous it's Switcheroo and Eject Button. Or sorry, Trick Eject Button. But I don't think I have a great way around it anyway, so I'm just going to Vine Lash into Grim and Spirit Break into it here. If you're not Switcheroo here, I think I just win. I go for Bounce, that's fine. Grim also didn't go for a priority attack, so I think we're good, honestly. Well, now that I've claimed we win, I actually have to close it out, but I feel pretty good about my chances, because now I have such... Although this is an interesting game where it's like Vine Lash actually came out so late. Nice. The reason, by the way, that I'm not targeting a Lecky there is because it's like, what do I need to target a Lecky for, right? If I Vine Lash into a Bounce, that's obviously a complete disaster, and they did go for the Bounce. Physical Lecky is very underwhelming post-Dynamax, especially if you don't set up the Electric Terrain for it. With Calyrex out now, I think like I should be able to just win the game with my Calyrex. Well, Scary Face, a Lecky will outspeed me, they can Electro Web, but then I'll still outpace them. Right? +2 Spadef as well, which is good. So, yeah, let us just Leaf Storm into Calyrex. Hold on. Is Leaf Storm worth it? It breaks Sash, that's essentially it. If I'm looking to break Sash, though, I think Earth Power is just more consistent here. So, Scary Face, Earth Power, and a Calyrex, I think is fine. Did they pick up a double knockout? I guess this turn is my other question. There's Bounce. Boop. Yeah, it really doesn't do that much. Also, maybe instead of Scary Face, Spirit Break here was just better. Because they're just going to Astro Barrage anyway, and we're at -2 speed. But it means now I can just Scary Face their Lecky this next turn. Oh, that doesn't even KO Venusaur. It's a bulky Venusaur diff. Cool. This is the value of this late game Vine Lash damage, right? I'm just trying to think if my opponent has like a win con via Trick Room, but I don't even think so. Okay, so I can Earth Power a Lecky. +1 Spadef. +2. Spirit Break. Nah, I think Scary Face onto a Lecky is fine, because Astro Barrage should just win us the game from Calyrex in the back. These teams today were all really cool, though. Like, we fought an Eternatus, we fought a Mewtwo. Yeah, pretty sick stuff. The thing is, the team we're using here is just so consistent, right? And so it's like, this is an important time to talk about how, like, in this format, you're going to run into a lot of wild things, both in ladder and on tournament, and you want to have consistent answers, right? And you want to be able to adapt. And the thing is, because we just have so much bulk to work with here, even if I don't fully know what my opponent's sets are, that's totally okay. I'll charge doesn't KO Grim here either. Yeah, we just got so much value out of screens in this one. And now Earth Power should finish off a Lecky. Nice. Cool. Yeah, I don't know. The early game Eternatus felt like it was doing a ton, though. And I was, like, really impressed by it. But the fact that we hung on here with both Pokemon with as little HP as we did was pretty impressive. And that's the value of getting these special defense boosts, right? Astro Barrage not finishing off either Pokemon here. And we didn't even have Light Screen up, actually. I forgot about that. But now we can Earth Power and just Scary Face again. And Calyrex didn't even need to come out here. So maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but I don't know. I thought their decision to bring out Grimmsnarl and then bring Bounce with the Lecky, like, that completely threw the game away for them, it felt like. I can get the decision there, but I guess with Grim, they were hoping to outspeed my Grimmsnarl. Maybe we want to speed tie and just, like, get a Spirit Break off and KO me. Because if you do get the knockout there, that does drastically change how things play out. But then I would just bring out my Calyrex, and I had the late game Vine Lash, and we stalled out Vine Lash so much in this game that we got, like, a ton of value from it in the late game, obviously. So, yeah. You know, this team is truly, like, one of the best teams you can use right now, right? It's fresh off a top 4 finish from Regionals. It is updated for the metagame and has some cool sets in Assault Vest Charizard as well as the policy on the Venusaur. So, yeah. But it was really cool to go up against all these unique restricted duos today. And, yeah, this team is just an absolute monster. So, thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.